I sit perfectly still at my parents' mahogany dinner table, watching candlelight dance across crystal glasses worth more than my first month's rent. The Connecticut estate stretches around us like a fortress of wealth, the dining room alone bigger than my entire apartment. Outside, snow dusts the manicured grounds, pristine white against the darkness. "Sarah, tell everyone your news," Dad says, his surgeon's hands cradling a glass of Bordeaux that probably cost 3 figures. His grin splits his tanned face, crinkling the corners of his eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. My younger sister straightens in her chair, smoothing the lapel of her crimson designer blazer. "The partners called me in yesterday. I'm officially on the fast track." She beams, tossing her perfectly highlighted hair. 2 years ahead of schedule. Mom reaches over to squeeze her hand, diamond tennis bracelet catching the light. "That's my girl, the youngest female partner in the firm's history." I take a small sip of wine, forcing a smile. My simple black blouse suddenly feels painfully inadequate against Sarah's power suit. "Marcus, what about that deal you mentioned last week?" Dad pivots to my brother, who's been checking stock prices on his phone. He looks up, investment banker confidence radiating from his tailored charcoal suit. "Closed it yesterday, $1 million bonus coming next quarter." He winks at me across the table. "Early retirement fund." "At 33? Mom laughs. "Your father was just starting to build his practice at your age." "Different world, different opportunities," Dad says proudly. I push salmon around my plate, counting minutes until this monthly ritual ends. 3 years ago, I sat at the same table announcing my resignation from Deloitte's marketing department. The silence that followed still rings in my ears. Mom turns to me, her smile tightening just enough that only I would notice. "Rebecca, darling, still playing with that little craft business from your apartment?" The table goes quiet. I can feel their collective attention, the weight of their judgment pressing down on my shoulders. "It's sustainable packaging design, Mom, not crafts." My voice comes out steadier than I feel. "And I moved into a small office space last month." Marcus leans forward, concern painted across his face like cheap makeup. "Maybe it's time to consider something more substantial, Beck. I know some people at JP Morgan who could use your marketing background. I landed a new contract last week, $50,000. I keep my tone casual, like I'm commenting on the weather. Dad nods absently, exchanging a look with Mom that I've seen 1,000 times. The "that's nice, dear" look. The "when will she grow up" look. "That's nice," Mom says, right on cue. "But is it sustainable? Health insurance alone must be eating through your savings." My phone buzzes in my lap. I glance down discreetly. 7:58 p.m. 2 minutes until the Forbes article goes live. I take another sip of wine, memories flooding back. The cramped studio apartment where I built my first prototypes. The crushing disappointment on Dad's face when I quit corporate life. Mom's gentle suggestions about therapy for my impulsive decision. Marcus steering his clients away from my hobby business, a betrayal I discovered through a mutual connection. Their constant interventions disguised as family dinners. The group chat I accidentally discovered they'd created without me, where they discussed my inevitable failure and when I'd come to my senses. Rebecca has always been creative. Dad says to no one in particular, as if creativity were a disease I'd caught. "Remember those little paper dolls she used to make?" Sarah laughs. "She'd spend hours on those instead of studying for exams." "And still managed better grades than you," I murmur into my wine glass. "What was that?" Sarah's smile hardens. "Nothing." I check my phone again. 7:59 p.m. Marcus clears his throat. "So, Dad, when do you close on the Berkshires property?" "Next week," Dad says, lighting up. 10 acres, private lake. You'll all have rooms, of course. "All except Rebecca," Sarah teases. "She'll be too busy with her craft projects." They laugh, the sound grating against my ears like metal on glass. My phone vibrates, then their phones chime in unison. 8 p.m. The Forbes notification appears on all our screens simultaneously. 30 under 30. Rebecca Carter's Green Revolution nets $12 million in first-year revenue. Dad's wineglass freezes halfway to his lips. Mom frantically refreshes her phone screen, manicured nail tapping rapidly against the glass. Marcus's mouth falls open, eyes widening as he reads. Sarah drops her fork with a clatter against fine china. I take another sip of wine, savoring its rich taste as I watch their faces transform from dismissal to disbelief to desperate calculation. The warm satisfaction spreading through my chest feels better than any family approval ever did. Have you ever been underestimated by the people who should believe in you most? I was about to discover how quickly family loyalty can turn to greed. Dad's wine glass hovers in midair. His knuckles whiten around the stem as his eyes dart across his phone screen. This says $12 million? His voice cracks on the final syllable. I take another sip of wine, letting the silence stretch. The grandfather clock in the corner ticks 3 times before I answer. 11.8 to be exact. First-year revenue. Marcus straightens his tie, his banker's mask slipping into place. You never mention the revenue scale, Beck. He reaches for his phone, thumbs flying across the screen. Impressive numbers. That's more than both our salaries combined, Sarah calculates aloud, her lawyer's mind already running the math. How did you? Keep it quiet? I finish for her. Wasn't hard. None of you asked. Mom's eyes well with tears, her manicured hand pressing against her collarbone. Oh, Rebecca, we're so proud. Why didn't you tell us? The familiar ache in my chest hardens into something sharp. Proud now, maybe. What does that mean? Dad sets his glass down with a clink. It means I've seen the group chat. Their faces freeze in perfect unison, like a family portrait capturing the exact moment of collective guilt. What group chat? Mom attempts, her voice thin. I pull out my phone and read, Rebecca's inevitable failure. The one you created 3 months after I started my company. The one where Marcus told you all about my hippie startup that his clients should avoid. Marcus's face drains of color. You weren't supposed to. See that? Or the email where Sarah told her firm not to recommend my services? I turn to my sister, whose perfect posture has suddenly collapsed. Or hear Dad at the club telling his friends I was going through a phase. The silence that follows feels like breaking glass. My phone buzzes. David's text lights up the screen. Did you show them the Goldman Sachs contract yet? Mom spots the message and leans forward. Goldman Sachs? You're working with. Another buzz. Emma, my assistant. The White House sustainability team wants to meet Tuesday. Dad's eyebrows shoot toward his receding hairline. A third notification. Dr. Patricia Williams, my mentor. Congratulations on Forbes. Well-deserved recognition. Marcus clears his throat, leaning toward Dad. We should discuss some family investment opportunities, he whispers, not quite quietly enough. I could introduce you at the club, Mom says, voice brightening. Joanne and Bill would be thrilled to hear about your success. Sarah taps her crimson fingernails against her wine glass. You'll need proper legal representation now. I could advise you on. Stop. The word cuts through their chatter like a blade. They stare at me, mouths half open with unfinished schemes. 3 years. My voice remains steady despite the furnace in my chest. For 3 years, you mocked my business. Called it a hobby, a craft project, a phase. We were concerned, Mom protests. We wanted what was best. Marcus told potential investors to stay away from my company. I lock eyes with my brother. I heard you, at the Peterson wedding. My sister's hippie startup isn't worth your time, remember? He swallows, Adam's apple bobbing. Beck, that was before. Before you knew I was making money? The words taste bitter. Sarah discouraged her firm from recommending my packaging designs to their corporate clients. Sarah's face flushes red beneath her makeup. I didn't think you were ready for success? Or for connections that might actually help me? I push my plate away. And you two, I turned to my parents, told everyone at the country club I was finding myself, that I'd come around eventually. Dad adjusts his glasses. Rebecca, perhaps we misjudged, but your family always. Always what? Had my back? Believed in me? The laugh that escapes me sounds foreign to my own ears. You didn't even include me in the family group chat. My phone rings. Emma again. I silence it without looking away from their faces. What changed tonight? I ask quietly. Why am I suddenly worth your time? Mom reaches for my hand. I pull back before she can touch me. $12 million, I answer for them. That's what changed. Marcus leans forward, businessman mode activated. Beck, this is fantastic news. We should celebrate. And I'd love to talk strategy sometime this week. My team has some thoughts on. I bet they do. I stand up slowly, feeling taller than my 5'6" frame. The candlelight throws my shadow long across the dining room table. Success tastes different when you earn it alone. I reach into my pocket and pull out a business card, thick, matte black stock with embossed silver lettering. I place it in the center of the table like a gauntlet. Call my assistant if you want a meeting. Their stunned faces stare up at me. 3 years of dismissal, 3 years of undermining, 3 years of waiting for me to fail. I push my chair back, wood scraping against polished floor. Rebecca, don't leave like this, Mom pleads. We're family. Family. The word hangs in the air between us. Is that what we were when you bet against me? I turn toward the door, then pause, remembering the news I received this morning. The news that would shatter their assumptions forever, the secret I'd been saving for dessert. But some revelations deserve their own moment, and my family hasn't earned this one yet. A month later, Marcus leans against my office doorframe, his Rolex catching the morning light. His navy suit tailored within an inch of perfection stands out against the modern white walls of my 15th floor office overlooking Manhattan. Nice view, he says, whistling low. How much does this set you back monthly? I don't look up from my laptop. Did Melissa not tell you I'm booked solid today? Your assistant mentioned something. He wanders in uninvited, running his fingers along my bookshelf. But family doesn't need appointments. The word family lands like a slap. 3 voicemails from Mom this morning, each mentioning a different client she'd contacted as my manager. Dad somehow found board member Philip Aronson's private number. Sarah drafting partnership agreements I never requested. I close my laptop with a decisive click. Actually, family especially needs appointments. I stand, smoothing my crimson blazer. Through the glass walls, 45 employees hustle between meeting rooms and open workspaces. People who believed in my vision when my own blood didn't. Marcus pivots, all charm. Beck, you've created something impressive here. More impressive than any of us realized. That's the problem. I walk to the wall displaying our client testimonials, Procter & Gamble, Amazon, Apple. Fortune 500 companies that recognized what my family couldn't see. You didn't realize. Water under the bridge. He pulls a leather portfolio from his briefcase. I've been looking at your growth trajectory, with the right investment strategy. Marcus. My voice cuts through his pitch. Why are you here? His smile falters. To help. That's what brothers do. Really? Like when you told Wainwright Partners my business was a risky hippie startup with no viable revenue model? I open my desk drawer, retrieving the valuation report I'd prepared for this inevitable moment. Or when you advised Henderson Capital to wait until this sustainability fad dies down. Color drains from his face. Where did you? People talk, Marcus, especially when they discover they've been misled about a $45 million opportunity. His eyes widen at the figure. The report trembles slightly in his hand. 45 million? Current valuation. I take the paper back. We've declined 3 acquisition offers already. He recovers quickly, businessman's smile returning. All the more reason to bring family expertise on board. I could. I don't mix family with business. The words taste like freedom, especially family who actively undermined my company. His face hardens. That's ancient history. We didn't understand what you were building. The foundation was always there. You just couldn't see past your own expectations. My phone buzzes. A text from David. Marcus tried contacting me yesterday. Offered investment opportunities if I'd give him our client list. Told him I only take meetings through your office. I place my phone screen down. Your strategies won't work here, Marcus. My team is loyal because I earned their trust, something you might want to consider. This isn't personal, Rebecca. It's business. It became personal when Mom called herself my manager to National Polymer yesterday. Or when Dad attempted to schedule a family dinner with 3 board members. I walk to the window, watching yellow taxis crawl through midtown traffic. Our attorneys already filed cease and desist letters. His jaw clenches. You're making a mistake. No, Marcus. I already made the mistake believing my family would celebrate my success instead of trying to control it. A knock interrupts us. Emma, my assistant, stands in the doorway, professional but protective. Your Business Insider interview is in 5 minutes, Amanda. Marcus glances between us. Business Insider? Feature story. I nod to Emma. Tell them I'll be right there. After Emma leaves, Marcus studies me with new calculation in his eyes. What exactly are you planning to say about the family? The truth. That sometimes the people who doubt you most are the ones who know you best. I open my office door. And sometimes that's exactly why you need to prove them wrong. He doesn't move. Mom's upset. She's trying to help in her way. By calling my clients, misrepresenting herself, that's not help, it's sabotage. She's proud of you. Now she is. Bitterness rises in my throat. Where was that pride when I was working 18-hour days in a studio apartment, when I maxed out credit cards to make payroll? When I needed anyone in my corner? Marcus straightens his tie. We were concerned. You were embarrassed. I cross my arms. There's a difference. He walks toward the door, pausing beside me. This publicity campaign, be careful. Some things should stay in the family. That's the thing about betrayal, Marcus. Once the trust is gone, there is no family, just people who share DNA. After he leaves, I sink into my chair, staring at framed photos on my desk. Mom and Dad at my college graduation. Sarah and me building sandcastles. Marcus teaching me to ride a bike. My phone lights up with notifications. The Business Insider story has gone live. The comment section floods with stories from other entrepreneurs whose families doubted them, hundreds of voices echoing my experience. At midnight, my office dark except for my computer screen, I scroll through old family photos saved in a folder labeled Before. Before success changed how they saw me. Before I realized approval and support aren't the same thing. I pull up the contact for our crisis management firm, then call David. It's late, he answers, voice thick with sleep. It's time, I say, watching the city lights below. Time to make some changes. The protective measures we discussed? All of them. I open my calendar, scheduling interviews with media outlets known involving family, moving forward with IPO preparation, and call landmark documentaries tomorrow. The film crew, you're sure? I glance at the folder on my desktop labeled The Real Story, evidence of every dismissal, every undermining comment, every betrayal. Yes, I say, surprising myself with how calm I feel. They can start filming next week. What happens when the family that betrayed you realizes you're about to tell your story to the world? I was about to find out. A week later, I adjust my blazer in the green room mirror, smoothing the lapel of the charcoal Armani that cost more than my parents' first car. Outside, the buzz of the CNBC studio hums with pre-interview energy. My phone vibrates with another text from Marcucius Fifth this morning. Beck, California, LL me. This is getting out of hand. I silence the phone and slip it into my purse. The makeup artist touches up my lipstick, a shade of crimson that matches the company logo. 5 minutes, Miss Carter, the production assistant says, clipboard clutched to her chest. My autobiography announcement hit newsstands yesterday. Building Without Blueprints: How I Created a Sustainable Empire Despite My Family. The title alone sent shockwaves through Connecticut social circles. Dad called it dramatic. Mom labeled it unnecessary. Marcus threatened legal action. Sarah sent a carefully worded text about considering family privacy. Too late. We're ready for you, Miss Carter, the assistant says. The studio lights beat down as I take my seat across from Diane Keller, whose sharp eyes have dismantled CEOs twice my age. Today we're speaking with Rebecca Carter, founder of EcoWrap Solutions, whose sustainable packaging revolution has captured both Wall Street attention and environmental awards. Diane's professional smile doesn't reach her eyes. Rebecca, your upcoming autobiography has created quite a stir in business circles. Can you tell us what motivated you to write it? I lean forward slightly, just as David and I practiced. Entrepreneurship is portrayed as an individual journey, but the truth is messier. My path involved people who claimed to support me publicly while actively working against me privately. You're referring to your family? I'm referring to anyone who underestimates someone with vision. My phone buzzes in my purse. I know without looking it's Marcus. Last night, he called the Wall Street Journal claiming I'd exaggerated my company's growth metrics. The reporter fact-checked his statements against our public filings and ran a piece this morning about family jealousy undermining corporate credibility. Your brother Marcus Carter recently spoke with several publications about your company. Diane says, as if reading my mind. How do you respond to his claim that family values contributed to your success? The question hangs between us. I can feel the camera tightening on my face, searching for a crack in my composure. Success teaches you who was really in your corner, I say, keeping my voice steady. The documentary evidence speaks for itself. Documentary evidence? I smile. My team documented every instance of family sabotage over 3 years. Emails discouraging clients from working with me. Recorded conversations dismissing my business model. Text messages predicting my failure. Marcus hadn't known about the recordings. None of them had. 2 hours after the interview, my phone nearly explodes with notifications. Authentic success trends on Twitter. LinkedIn lights up with entrepreneurs sharing similar stories of family betrayal. Women in business groups repost clips from my interview with fire emojis. Back at headquarters, David waits in my office with a bottle of champagne. You beautiful, calculating genius, he says, popping the cork. Your family is in full meltdown. I kick off my heels and sink into my chair. How bad? Marcus lost the Hendricks account this morning. Turns out Mr. Hendricks has a daughter whose business idea he rejected. He watched her interview and called Marcus immediately to terminate their relationship. And my mother? David grins. 3 country club board members asked her to step down from planning the spring fundraiser. Apparently, they don't appreciate her contradictory stories about your success. I take the champagne flute he offers. Sarah? Her firm issued a statement distancing themselves from personal family matters after clients questioned her judgment. The triumph feels hollow, like winning a game nobody should have to play. But I didn't start this war. I'm just finally fighting back. My phone rings Emma calling from the front desk. Your employees are here, she says. My employees? All 45 of them. They're in the conference room with a cake that says, "Our boss is a badass." Warmth spreads through my chest, replacing the cold anger I've carried for months. I find them crowded into our main conference room, applauding as I enter. Janet from Product Development steps forward with a framed magazine cover Forbes, with my photo in the headline, "The Entrepreneur Who Built an Empire While Building Boundaries." We took a collection, she says, voice wavering, because you taught us that standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. My throat tightens. This is what family should feel like. Later that night, the voicemails start. Marcus first, his voice slurred with whiskey and resentment. You think you're so special with your fancy company and your interviews. You were always Dad's favorite even when you were screwing up. Some of us had to work for everything we got. Then Mom, crying between words. Rebecca, honey, I didn't mean to hurt you. We were just worried. Please call me back. Sarah's text arrives at midnight. This has gone far enough. We're family. Can we talk? Dad's email comes last. Formal, stiff, addressed to my corporate account rather than personal. Rebecca. The family requests your presence at a meeting to discuss recent events. Saturday, 2 p.m. at the house. Dr. Richard Carter. I forward each message to David with the subject line, Phase 1 complete. Then I open the certified letter that arrived this afternoon. Network letterhead, thick cream paper. Dear Miss Carter, we are pleased to inform you that your proposal, American Dynasty, When Family Business Gets Personal, has been approved for a 6-part documentary series. I pick up my phone and dial the executive producer's number. It's Rebecca Carter, I say when she answers. Yes, I'll tell the whole truth. I hang up and stare at the Manhattan skyline twinkling beyond my office window. The empire I built glows in the darkness, a monument to everything they said I couldn't do. Let them come to the meeting. Let them bring their lawyers and their threats and their sudden desire for reconciliation. I've been recording everything since the night they laughed at my $50,000 contract. The truth doesn't need their permission to be told. The Carter estate looms against the winter sky, its windows glowing amber in the gathering dusk on Saturday. I park my Audi at the end of the circular driveway, deliberately avoiding the space nearest the front door that Dad always reserves for important guests. Tonight, I am neither guest nor family. I am judge and jury. My high heels click against the herringbone brick path. The documentary crew waits discreetly in vans at the property entrance, cameras ready but hidden. Everything hinges on timing. Mom opens the door before I knock, her face arranged in a practiced smile that doesn't reach her eyes. Her pearl necklace catches the light from the chandelier above. "Rebecca, darling, we've been waiting." She reaches for a hug I don't return. The formal living room has been staged like a corporate intervention. Dad stands by the fireplace, one hand resting on the mantel in his favorite power pose. Marcus sits in Dad's leather chair, legal documents spread across the coffee table. Sarah perches on the arm of the sofa, smartphone clutched in her manicured fingers. "Please sit." Dad gestures to the lone chair opposite them, all the hot seat. I remain standing. "I prefer to stand, thank you." Dad clears his throat. "Rebecca, we've asked you here to discuss some concerns about the family legacy." His surgeon's precision shapes each word. "The Carter name has stood for excellence and integrity for 3 generations. Has it?" I ask quietly. Marcus shuffles papers, not meeting my eyes. "We've drafted some documents regarding family brand protection. Your recent media appearances have raised concerns." Sarah jumps in, her voice honey sweet. "We can help manage your public relations, Beck. Keep things appropriate." Mom reaches for my hand, her diamond tennis bracelet sparkling under recessed lighting. "We've always been proud of you, darling. Always." I step back. "Have you?" The room falls silent. Marcus finds his voice first. "Look, if you continue with these interviews and your ridiculous documentary, I'll have no choice but to pursue legal action for business defamation." Dad's jaw tightens. "And we'll need to reconsider certain provisions in our estate planning." "Your reputation could suffer irreparable damage," Sarah adds, her lawyer voice emerging. "Our ultimatum is simple. Retract your public statements or face consequences." I allow myself 3 deep breaths before responding, savoring the quiet before the storm. "I've already faced the consequences of trusting you," I say, my voice steadier than my heartbeat. I open my leather portfolio and remove the first document. This is a transcript of Marcus telling the Stevensons not to invest in my hippie experiment last March. I place it on the coffee table. Marcus blanches. "That's taken out of context." I lay down a second document. Mother's lunch at the Westport Country Club, telling her friends I'd come to my senses by Christmas. September 4th, last year. Mom's hand flies to her throat. "How did you—" The third document lands with a soft thud. Sarah's email to Cranbrook Industries advising them against working with my company for their packaging redesign. I look directly at my sister. The contract they eventually signed with me was worth $3 million. The fourth document silences the room. Dad's remarks at his hospital fundraiser, telling Dr. Richardson I was playing entrepreneur while you donated to his son's actual business venture. They stare at the growing pile of evidence, faces draining of color. "I've been documenting everything for months," I explain, laying down my business growth charts next to client testimonials and industry awards. "Every achievement I earned while you predicted my failure. Every milestone I reached without your support." Marcus recovers first, voice sharp with desperation. "You're recording this, aren't you? That's illegal in Connecticut without consent." I press the intercom button on my phone. "You can come in now." The front door opens, and 3 people enter with professional camera equipment. The documentary producer, Allison, nods at me. "The Carter family, I presume?" She extends her hand to my father, who doesn't take it. "Thank you for participating in our documentary series. You've all signed location releases for filming on this property over the years. We're simply exercising those rights." Sarah jumps to her feet. "This is a private family meeting." "Actually," I interrupt, "it's the final scene in a documentary about entrepreneurship and family dynamics. The network greenlit it last month." Mom sinks into the sofa. "You've been planning this?" "Yes." I stand taller now. My book advance has already been donated to entrepreneurship programs for young women. I've established a scholarship fund for what I call overlooked dreamers, people whose families didn't believe in them. The cameras capture every flicker of emotion across their faces. Mom's carefully applied makeup can't hide her shock. Dad's authority crumbles visibly. Marcus fumbles with his useless legal threats. Sarah's professional veneer cracks completely. I gather my portfolio and straighten my blazer. I don't need your permission to succeed anymore. I remove our family photo from my phone's lock screen, deliberately, while they watch. Then I place my business card on the table. For future reference, my assistant handles all requests, even from family. Dad stands, finding his voice at last. Rebecca, you can't just... I already have. I walk toward the door, each step lighter than the last. Behind me, the cameras continue rolling. The documentary producer follows me outside, snow crunching beneath our feet. Stars pierce the winter darkness above us. Are you ready for what comes next? She asks. I look back at the house that once defined me, its grandeur diminished in the rearview mirror of my success. I've been ready my whole life. Sometimes the family that should lift you up tries to tear you down instead. What I built from their betrayal would surprise even me. I stand at the floor-to-ceiling windows of my Manhattan headquarters, 18 months after that dinner when Forbes changed everything. The city sprawls below, a living tapestry of light against the December darkness. My reflection looks back at me, hair pulled into a loose bun, simple black dress that costs more than my first month's rent but doesn't advertise it. Miss Carter? My assistant appears in the doorway. The Google acquisition team sent over their final offer. I smile without turning. $150 million. 152, she corrects, placing the folder on my desk. They added $2 million after touring the San Francisco office. The number should thrill me. Instead, it simply confirms what I've known since that night at my parents' table. Value isn't measured by others' approval. Behind me, our Manhattan headquarters hums with purposeful energy. 200 employees across 3 offices now, from the original team of 5 who believed in sustainable packaging when my own family didn't. The framed Forbes cover hangs near my desk, not as a trophy but as a reminder of the moment everything changed. The Thanksgiving preparations are complete, Emma adds, scrolling through her tablet. David ordered that wine you like from that vineyard in Oregon. I nod, finally turning from the window. Perfect. 3 hours later, I stand in my loft's open kitchen, watching David carve a turkey while Emma arranges place settings. My mentor, Patricia, pours wine for our leadership team gathered around my dining table, larger than my parents' mahogany monster, but somehow warmer. To another record quarter, David raises his glass, his chief operations officer confidence balanced with genuine warmth. I lift my glass to the people who made it possible. Glasses clink as conversations flow without competition or comparison. No one here needs to prove their worth. They've already shown it through loyalty when it mattered. Your parents called again, Emma whispers when we're alone in the kitchen. Your mother's birthday dinner next week. I nod, feeling the old tightness in my chest loosen. I'll be there. And I am a week later, back at that same Connecticut dining room table, watching candlelight dance across crystal. But everything has changed. Rebecca, Dad says, his surgeon's hands steady around his wine glass. The Berkshires property is lovely this time of year. You should visit sometime. Not, when are you coming, but, you should visit. The invitation leaves room for my choice. Perhaps in the spring, I answer, a boundary wrapped in politeness. Mother nods, diamond earrings catching the light. That would be lovely, dear. The conversation moves on without lingering expectations. Their respect feels foreign, but welcome. Sarah asks genuine questions about my business without offering to help. Marcus mentions market trends without suggesting investment opportunities. They've learned. So have I. Thursday evenings now include therapy, where I slowly unpack years of family trauma with quiet determination. My TED Talk, When Your Foundation Cracks, Build Your Own, has been viewed 11 million times. Universities invite me to speak about entrepreneurship and family boundaries. My book sits on bestseller lists between political memoirs and celebrity confessions. This morning, weeks later, I signed the final paperwork for a scholarship program funding 50 students annually, young entrepreneurs from difficult family situations. Letters arrive daily from people who found courage in my story. Tonight, Christmas Eve, I choose to work alone in my office. Not from loneliness, but from purpose. The city glitters below, peaceful in its evening hush. My reflection in the window shows both who I was and who I've become. I pick up my phone, recording a voicemail for tomorrow. Merry Christmas, team. Thank you for believing when it mattered. On my desk, an IPO announcement letter awaits my signature. Beside it sits the documentary Emmy for Outstanding Biography. But what catches my eye is the original business plan I wrote in my tiny apartment, coffee-stained and covered in ambitious notes. I signed the IPO paperwork with steady strokes, a smile playing at my lips. I am Rebecca Carter, and I build businesses that matter, with or without permission.